Hey there, welcome to Pop Culture Cupid.
I'm Alison, love coach, here to help you single people find your way back to love.
And I'm Michal, I'm a single life coach. I help singles embrace themselves and their singleness, as well as develop a healthy self relationship.
In this podcast, we will look at how pop culture impacts romance, dating, and your love life.
And each week we'll shoot another arrow through another pop culture delusion.
I thought we weren't going to do the whole cheesy thing.
And then burst into smithereens.
Oh my god, dude, that's so cringe!
Sorry, it's in the intro now.
If you make it through the chaos and you enjoy what you hear, please leave a comment, like, subscribe, and go to all the social media.
At Pop Culture Cupid on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. Enjoy!
Hello again.
So long.
I know. I mean, it's funny.
You even been?
It's been so long. It's been so long. Been great. I've been great. I feel lighter, energized.
Yeah, we've had a lot of time to rest up.
I know, and just to kind of plan the episodes.
Yeah.
I mean, our huge audience right now is not understanding what we're talking about, so we're just gonna behind the scenes. We only stopped recording it a couple of minutes ago, and I've decided to go straight into the next one because of our busy lives.
Very busy bees, but you know, we make it work. We make it work.
We said we were going to talk about how our relationships ended. So I don't know if these are going to be posted one after the other, and it doesn't really matter because we're not building on last episode. But yeah, I was reflecting on like talking about past relationships and things like that, and I realized that I've been on a journey with my relationships and why they ended and things like that. I mean, I reckon I would say 3 ex-boyfriends, like there's no doubt about that they are my ex-boyfriends, and then there's one, it's kind of in the middle, I don't really know, and I'll ask for your, like, you'll tell me how you feel. What about you?
So before my current boyfriend, I was technically single for 7 years from my last serious relationship. So I've had 3 serious boyfriends, and between the ages of like 16, 17 to 26. So I've always been the one with the boyfriend in those years. And then since then, I've had like, especially in the beginning, I've dated for a month or 2 here, a month or 2, 3 there. So I don't know. On the one hand, like there was a couple of them that really did feel like a breakup. But then like how can you consider just a month or 2 an actual, you know what I mean? So
exactly.
So yeah.
That's so it's not a month or 2. What I'm referring to is not a month or 2, but it's in that type of thinking. Where so this guy and we tried being in a relationship twice, and the first time I had gone traveling to Italy, and so we were kind of in touch for 3 months. 2 of those months I was in Italy, and it wasn't really going anywhere, and I ended it because he wasn't respecting my boundaries. So he considers me to be an ex-girlfriend after that period, and I was like, well, no, we were, I mean, fine. And then the second time we tried, a lockdown happened, and so we were messaging during lockdown, but we went on a couple of dates before lockdown and a couple of dates after lockdown, and didn't see each other for 4 months of lockdown because he was with his sick mother. So it's like, it was about 5 months of writing to each other. Does that really count as a relationship? So yeah, but anyway, those are not the interesting ones of why the relationships ended. So yeah, I would, you know, personally, there's one relationship, so not the previous one, the one before. This guy and I feel like, aside from the fact that I didn't follow any of the red flags that I'm going to talk about, we did everything in the right order. We were friends, and then we dated, and then we dated for a while, and then we moved in together, and we moved in together for a while, and then we bought a place. And
Wow.
actually, the place that I'm recording in now and living now. And then we broke up. And it's such a long story, and I don't know how to. So while we were dating, before we lived together, I realized that he had cheated on me. And everything in my body screamed, like, you need to stop it there and now. It needs to be over. Like, and it obviously, I didn't follow that, but like visceral gut instinct. I gave him the benefit of the doubt, and I genuinely think that that was the only time that he cheated. Like, after that, I don't think that he cheated again. But still, we should make another episode about cheating and how we feel about cheating. That's not today. So he cheated, and then time moved on, and then about a year and a half later, we decided to buy a flat together and things like that. And we bought the place, we moved in, and once we had moved in, I don't know if I opened my eyes to all the shit that he did, or everything kind of happened. I feel like I opened my eyes, because when I told people about why we broke up, they were all like, yes, none of us understood what you saw in him. He was lazy. He was just unreliable. He would tell me, like, I had ordered cat litter on Amazon, this amazing cat litter, like, that our cat really liked, and I had it delivered to his office because that was the easiest way. And he told me that he had picked it up, and that it was there. And I was like, well, okay, well, you need to bring it back to our flat, because I need it. And not only did he not pick it up, he let it. He said it was at the post office, and 2 weeks later they send it back. He let it go back. He had told me that he had picked it up. It's just like, if you told me that you didn't pick it up, I would have gone to pick it up. And that was just one of the many, many things. Like, I would finish work really late, and he would finish work much earlier, and I say, can you go pick this up from the shop, and when I get back, I'll cook dinner. So that, you went through the shopping, I do the cooking, and it's fine. I would come back at around 7:30 or 8. He had not gone and done the shopping, and he would say, oh, but I wanted to do it with you. And I said, I didn't want to do it at all. Like, you're not going to be the one cooking, because you don't know how to cook. And it was just a lot of shit like that, just so much shit like that. He would just be so unreliable. He would tell me, not, yes, I am going to do this. It would be, yes, that's done, when it would not be done at all. And so one, like, that would build up. And then one day I realized that I was a couple of days late. And so I do a pregnancy test. Turns out the pregnancy test is negative, and then I have my period like a couple of hours after that. And I tell him about it. I say, well, I had a pregnancy scare. And he just loses it. And I'm like, why are you so angry? Like, I don't understand why you are losing it. I don't get it. What's wrong with you? So, blah, blah, blah. It's like, we have bought a home with 2 bedrooms. We are both working. We've been in a relationship for, I think at that point it was about 3 years. Why are you losing it? Like, what the hell is wrong with you? And then I realized, okay, I just can't. And so we broke up, just because so unreliable and things like that. And so during that time, during the time we broke up, so I end up buying his share of the flat and everything, and he's still living here for a couple of months while he's finding a place to live. And he becomes so aggressive, so like I would sit in our bedroom and he would insult me for hours. And one day I pulled back, but he was about to hit me, and I was like, and when that happened, I said, you need to leave. Like, tomorrow you're not here anymore. You need to be gone. And the next day he was gone. All this long-winded story to say that he and I have friends that in common. And the other day, and this one friend, so we broke up in 2019, and then the other day, one of his friends, like, they were still in contact, but she and I were not in contact anymore. And for some reason, we just kind of start chatting. And she tells me that the girlfriend that he had after him went to the police because he actually hit her. I was like, oh my God. Oh my God. And so I broke up with him in 2019. Well, actually December 2019. So just about 4 years ago, slightly more than 4 years ago. And I met with her, I think 2 weeks ago.
Wow.
Insane, right?
Wow. Oh my God. Like, where do I even begin? Like, there's so much to say about.
I know.
Well, first of all, I'll say that we have to learn to trust our instincts more. When something doesn't feel right, it usually isn't right. And I mean, I'm not for manipulation, but it's a good way to test a person, to tell them that you're pregnant or that you have a pregnancy scare and see how they react. Because I believe that a person's reactions are who they are. They can say from today to tomorrow, and like I always say, they can testify about themselves and tell you what they're like and who they are. But at the end of the day, it's their reactions and their actions that really tell you who they are. And I mean, even if they're not ready for something, like even if they're not ready in this case for pregnancy and for a baby, it's fine. It's completely fine. There's just a way to respond to it and to react. Like, I mean, I understand it's something stressful also for them, but like, if you can't handle yourself in stressful situations when it's just an assumption, then, or just a scare, then I don't know if I want to be with you when it's the actual thing.
I know.
So you really have to be attentive to the person's behavior and not just let the words they say convince you. Yeah.
This guy, so this was just like a couple of weeks. When we moved in, I had already had like a lot of doubts, but because had signed and bought and everything and let go of the offer, I thought, when we were moving into this new flat that we had bought, I already thought, oh, this isn't going to work out. But because we had, gone through all of the admin and the legal work and things, I thought, I'm just going to stick it out and see if we can make it work anyway, not give up. And so a couple of weeks before we broke up, when I was already like unhappy, I had cooked dinner, like a big dinner, so that we could both have food for the next day for lunch. And I left work that day before he did, and I put his food in a Tupperware on the kitchen table. And so that from kind of our bedroom, the bedroom to the front door, it was a straight line, pick up the Tupperware and then leave. Like, it was just, it could not have been easier, And that day I get home from work before him, open the fridge and see that the Tupperware is in the fridge. And it's fine. I'm thinking he either didn't like the food, which is, happens, or he had plans for something else. And I was thinking, and if he didn't like food, then I'll just have it for tomorrow. If he had just plans for something else, I'll leave it for him for tomorrow. Like, I just want to know. And so I message him, or when he gets home, I say, why is the food in the fridge? And he says, I didn't have time. And I say, what do you mean you didn't have time? It's like, oh, I just didn't have time to take it. And it's like, that makes no sense. Because all you had to do was to take it and then go. You had to go make a detour from where the Tupperware was to the fridge and then back to the front door. I mean, it was only, a 2-minute detour, but still like, I told him this. What do you mean you don't have the time? I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense at all. It is just taking, stop it. You're accusing me of lying. I'm telling you, I just didn't have time. Didn't have time for lunch. Did you take it with you at the office and then didn't have lunch and so brought it back? I don't know when, because I got back before you. Like, and he just kind of mumbled and make this, and to this day I don't know what he meant. And I was like, oh my god,
Sounds very neurotic.
What is this guy? That is very, very strange. Yeah, this guy.
He sounds like a very chaotic, very messy person that's struggling to manage themselves in their lives and doesn't know. They just get lost in their own world, in their own bubble, and they sort of
absolutely,
just do things so
weirdly.
Yeah, like they miss things, or they run late for the strangest of reasons, and they just never make any sense.
Yeah, it was, I mean,
people who don't know how to be an adult, basically.
Oh, exactly.
Don't know how to take care of themselves. And
and so, and honestly, I mean, that relationship with the guy, that semi-relationship with the guy that kind of just ended, I don't really know who's in the wrong or in the right. I think it's just we didn't really work out, because sometimes that happens. But with this guy, there were so many red flags. And as you said, like, you need to, if something doesn't feel right, then it's cliche, but at that point it was definitely me sticking around because I was, so when he cheated and things like that, it was me sticking around because I was afraid to be single. After that relationship, I was single for, I think, 3 years or something. Kind of just like, 3 years. Anyway, it's very, very, I have no words. So yeah, that's why that relationship ended. And it turns out that I did really well to get out of that relationship. And that friend that I told you about that we had in common, she doesn't talk to him anymore either.
Yeah, there's again, there's no wrong or right. Well, even if there is a wrong or right person in every situation, you can't focus on that, and you can't waste your energy on that. Because you just have to move on and learn what you did and how you can do better for next time, and who is that person, the type of person that you need to avoid, or what type of situations and behavior. You just have to learn and move on and not dwell on certain things.
But
so,
this guy, this kind of relationship ending put me on the path to personal growth and like working on myself and things like that. And I had, after my first boyfriend, where we broke up because I was just so young, and I realized that I had a lot of, I don't know, I was going to say a lot of ambition, but I don't know that that's fair. But it was just, we were so different. Like, we didn't see our lives the same way at all. And we got together, I was just just turning 18, and I was 20. And when we broke up, I was 23. There was a lot of bad things going on in that relationship, in the sense of, I was like, intimacy was a big issue with our relationship. Like, there were a lot of things where we didn't really see things the same way. But the reason why we broke up is because I realized that I wanted something different from life, and he didn't. He was happy to stay in that place, and I wanted to move. And so that's why we broke up. It was later that I realized wow, that relationship was toxic, because it was my first and I didn't have any comparisons. So after that breakup and kind of realization on the, I it kind of threw me on this first part of my journey of like self, like working on myself and developing skills and tools and things like that. And then there was that relationship, and then that threw me in a much like stronger loop of working on myself.
Yeah, which is a great thing. I think it's so important to take a time after a breakup to work on yourself, regroup, and just recharge and regain energy and work on yourself and learn from what happened and move forward. A lot of times we just see that in between period as a waiting room for our next relationship, and we just, I call it relationship hopping. We just jump from one relationship to the other without resting. And so we just lose ourselves in one relationship, and then we lose ourselves even more, and then in another relationship, and we just like, until eventually we don't know who we are anymore. We're dating all the wrong people, and our relationship dictates our feelings, our emotions, what we do, how we feel, our self-worth. And with too overly dependent on a relationship to be happy and to not feel lonely. And so it really is important to learn how to take that time as not just a waiting period for your next relationship, but also as a growing period to develop yourself. And I've overstayed my welcome in a few relationships. You were saying beforehand that you were scared to leave the relationship, and that's what basically happened to me in my last serious relationship, which ended in 2016, I want to say, which is such a long time ago by now. And just a bit of quick backstory. This person was one of my best friends for a very long time. And I knew that at some point he had a crush on me.
Right.
But I've never felt anything remotely similar to that. Like, I've never been attracted to him. I've never had feelings for him. I've always just seen him as a really good friend, basically in the friend zone. And also, I was always in relationships. I was like always the one with the boyfriend, as I said beforehand. So I was like never really, thinking about it because I've had, But then there was a time between after my second boyfriend where I was finally single again, where he asked me out. And I'm not sure what exactly possessed me to say yes, but I don't know. I think it was a mixture of things. I think first of all, I was very impressed with his bravery and his courage to actually take that plunge and ask me out. And also something in my mind was like, and this is where Hollywood movies reframe the way we think and how they impact us, is I was like, maybe he was under my nose this whole time. Maybe this is what I've been overlooking to see other people and whatever, and it's meant to be him. And I was like, what harm can it do? So I'll go out. And I just feel like it took me down a very long spiral that I couldn't get out of. Because when you just get into it and then it just rolls and uncontrollably, and you there's no way out. So I mean, the relationship had a lot of ups and downs and a lot of things that were wrong with it. And I'm not going to get into every single detail. But I mean, I did love him, but I don't think I was ever in love with him. I certainly wasn't attracted to him. And it was just a very difficult relationship for him. It was his first serious relationship. So most of our arguments, I felt like I was back at 16 having like those dumb arguments with my first boyfriend. But I didn't want to leave because I was too scared to be on my own, because there's such a bad rep to being single. And I was like 26 coming on to 27, and I was scared of never finding anyone, and I was like worried about the stigma of being single in my 30s. And I was too scared to be on my own. And I was like, well, he really is truly a great guy. He's a sweet boy. He treated me well. He just wasn't right for me. But I was like, what do I need more than that? I convinced myself that I didn't need to be in love. I didn't need to have that head over heel romance that you see in movies, which is true in a way to a certain extent, but you do need to be in love with the person, and you do need to have that deeper connection with them. And for me, it just wasn't there. And so I, I'm trying to think of what led to the breakup. It was like a various different things. We went well, here in Israel. It's common to go on a on a long trip after your army service. So we usually go either to Southeast Asia or to South America. Those are the two big destinations. I mean, there's more, but like those are the main two. And I didn't go on a long trip right after the army. I went to be an instructor in a pre-army program that I wanted to do for a very long time. So I did that. And then when we were together, we decided to do the trip. And we went to Southeast Asia. We were supposed to go for 6 months. We lasted 4 months there because it's very difficult to be with each other. And he was getting on my nerves. And he's not the type of person who likes to travel. I basically convinced him to come, which wasn't okay of me. Like, I shouldn't have done that. I was just too scared to go on my own. And it was just, we were talking about, I don't know if it was beforehand or the previous episode, we were talking about, like, you said something about like over analyzing everything and over like overly talking about things. And he was having a hard time to take things with a grain of salt and understand that, it's not real. I feel like we're not going to be 24/7 with each other in real life. So it's fine to have arguments. It's fine to be freaking out about everything, to a point where I just couldn't stand the sight of him in the end. So we came back early, and we lasted for, I think, another month or two. I can't even remember. Which in that time we weren't intimate at all with each other. And he wanted to go see a psychologist and or like a couples therapist. And I was like, if we need a couple therapist before we even married, and I'm not even in love with you, then this is no. Then just no. And it had to get to that breaking point for me to get over my fear and just walk away. And oh my God, I was having such bad anxiety as well when I was with him. And I'm a dreamer. I like to fly, even if I know certain things aren't plausible. I like to dream big. And he was very realistic. And every time that I would fly, he would cut off my wings. And I was like very frustrated. So then I sort of just cut it out. And like you said beforehand, suddenly when we broke up, people were starting to tell me, yeah, he wasn't right for you. We didn't like this about him. We didn't like that. And I'm like, where were you when we were together? No, but we have to make that decision for ourselves. And I think a lot of times it's not in other people's place to tell us what to do.
I agree. There's I think now being 32 tomorrow, I'm realizing, like, I don't need my friends and family's opinion on my boyfriend. Like, I just don't need it anymore. I know that if my father disliked JT, I wouldn't really care, because I'm at that point where I know what JT is like, which would have been different for my ex. So his name is Jan, that I was telling you, like, because I was already feeling certain things about him, and I just, anyway, very strange. I don't, you want to let go of what your friends and family think, but you want to also be honest about your, like, it's finding that balance about what can you say. And all of this to say that I have a friend, I may have talked to her about her already and her relationship with her boyfriend, where I'm just like, I don't understand what they're doing together anymore. She's just terrified of being alone. I think she finds him very attractive, and she's not so confident in her own looks, and so she's feeling that she wants to stay with him because of that. Anyway, yesterday I was on the phone with her, and we were talking about what he does and doesn't do around the house, and what he did not do for Christmas, and what he doesn't do in general, and things like that. And it got to a point where I said, listen, I'm your friend and I love you, and I'll support you and I'll be there for you because it's your life, it's not mine. I never see this guy, I don't really, care. But you need to either stop complaining about him and just accept the way he is, or realize that what this and this is just so wrong and bad, and I feel it's unacceptable. Basically, he doesn't do anything around the house. He didn't buy her anything for Christmas. He got into an argument with his mother a week ago, and he's still kind of reeling from it. And I'm like, she's like, but have you ever blah blah blah? It's like, it doesn't take a week to get over. Like, and so then she's telling me, yeah, but this and that. It's like, okay, well, if he's feeling so bad about it, he needs to call her. Oh no, he's expecting her to call him. I was like, well, that's just the stupidest thing I've ever heard. And then she says something along the lines of, he had a bad childhood, which I understand. It's like, okay, so what is he doing to feel better? And she says, he concentrated on his career. I'm like, okay, does he feel better? Well, blah, blah. It's like, does he feel better? Does concentrating on his career make him feel better? Well, kind of. I mean, on that aspect. So the answer is no. So he's not doing anything to feel better. I understand that he had a rough upbringing and that it was rough, but if he's feeling bad about it, he needs to do something about it, not run away from the problem. Anyway, so I said all of these things, and so I made it clear in the sense that I don't agree about all of this for you. I think you deserve better. If you choose to stay with him, that's fine. It's none of my business, but just be aware that I will support you either way. And I think that's the best thing that you can do as a friend, of just don't get too involved, but still be honest with your opinions, of just like, I have another friend where she's also complaining about her boyfriend, less so. And so I'll agree with her because I agree with her, but I won't tell her how bad it is, because I'm just like, well, I mean, nobody's perfect. And that's,
Yeah, again, every person has to make their own decisions, and it doesn't matter what, even if you tell them what to do, and even if you tell them what you think they should do, they have to come to that decision on their own. And if they end up doing it because of you, because you told them, then that's going to put a strain on your relationship.
Yeah.
And I had to experience it for myself and come to the conclusions that I did by myself.
Yeah.
And friends do come to me for advice every so often. And I never tell them, why not? Never tell anyone what they should do in a situation. Every person needs to decide this for themselves. And if you're bad at making the decision, then good. You need to learn how to start making decisions for yourself, and just do it. What was my point? My point is that I never tell anyone how to behave or what to do. I just give them my own opinion in a way that doesn't suggest what I think they should do, because I'm not in the situation. I don't really know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't know what extent it is. And, you usually hear just one side of the story, and or just a moment in the story. And so, yeah, you want to support the person you're talking to. And I have a friend that I'm sad to say that I don't think she with her partner, but she is, and she's well aware of what she's doing, and that's her life, her decision, and she should do what she wants to do. I can't make a decision for her. I can just support her. And I can tell her, look, I want the best for you. I'm worried about you. And I don't like that he treats you this way. I don't like that he talks to you this way. But at the end of the day, I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I don't know the extent of your relationship, and you have to do what's true. And again, some people just need to get to the breaking point to learn certain things in life.
Yeah. I think excluding the really like physically harming someone, I think that's the hard barrier of like, then you have to intervene as a friend, you have to intervene.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, you can't really let that slide. And then possibly cheating, but cheating is such a gray thing of just different people have different visions of what cheating actually is. And, you know, JT can write to a woman that he knows, and you know, I don't consider that cheating at all, and he'll probably tell me more often than not. He can go for a meal with a friend, with a female friend, like I don't care. But some people will consider that cheating, and then we'll make a whole thing of it, of just, I saw JT cheating on you. It's like, what do you mean you saw JT cheating on me? Well, blah blah blah. And those, you know, that's a bit of a gray area, and I would it's difficult because you need to be sure that you're on the same kind of definition of what cheating is. Because this other friend that I was telling you about, she would consider JT having a meal with somebody else cheating on me. And she knows that I don't consider that cheating, and so she knows that she stays out of it. She would just stay out of it because she knows that she doesn't have the same sensitivity and sensibility that I do, and vice versa. So we would just stay out of each other's lives on that aspect because we disagree about what a relationship looks like, and so we stay out of it. And I think that's well, I think that's just the, you know, unless it's hitting, and that's just unacceptable and possibly putting yourself in danger, like driving while under the influence and things like that, like really physical harm. The rest of it is so complicated that you just want to maybe kind of stay out of it, express your opinion, but make sure that you know that's just your opinion, and that doesn't, you know, that only impacts you and not the other people around you.
Well, first of all, just to respond to, like, let's say the example that you gave, I think it's also really dependent on the situation. If he's going out to meal with female friend and he's hiding it from you, and he's not, then that's the, I mean, it's still not considered cheating, but I think the problem would be him hiding stuff and deliberately not telling you and avoiding it, and that's just a red flag, and something is going on there. And is
I agree.
suspicious. That's one thing. Another thing is about opinions. I think I wrote something about this, a brief thing about this in one of my recent blog posts. I think the last blog post, but it doesn't really matter. Opinions, at the end of the day, what it is like, my opinion is how I see a certain situation, or how I would react in a certain situation, or how I see the world. And that's based on my views and what's good for me. So I may give you an opinion of something that I would do for myself, but isn't necessarily right for you. So that's why an opinion has to be taken with a grain of salt, because an opinion, again, is I think it's great to be, you know, single for a long period of time and experience life on your own, and to go travel by yourself. And while I do believe to a certain extent that every person should do that no matter their status, another person, it might not be right for them to be single for so long, or to do certain things on their own. And it's just my opinion, because that was what was best for me.
Yeah, 100% agree. And obviously, that hiding it from me is key. And so this friend, this hasn't happened, but I know that it would be how it would happen, because she's done it with other friends, where, say JT goes for lunch with somebody else and I'm aware, she would write to me saying he's cheating on you, and she'd become very aggressive all of a sudden, even though I'm already aware, which, you know, would put my guards up of just, you need to mind your own business. I'm aware that he's having lunch with a colleague, like, go away. And, you know, it's just, what's dramatic for you isn't necessarily dramatic for somebody else. And again, unless it's physical harm, everybody has their own, you know, we can talk about open relationships, we can talk about all sorts of things that are just, you know, you need to be very careful about how you treat these things, because not everybody has the same vision as you do.
And you may end up just blowing the situation out of proportion. You're saying, like, one thing that's dramatic for one person maybe not dramatic for another, but they can influence you and cause you to make a drama out of it, and that can just ruin it for you. So you again have to take things with a grain of salt. And also, like with giving advice and sharing your opinion, you have to be responsible with how you share it and what you say, and the other person has to be responsible with how they take it and how they hear it and understand it and what they do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and nobody's 100% right or 100% wrong in any situation. And again, it's communicating and being very clear about things. And it's I mean, we probably say it every episode about communication and being clear. I mean, I know that I'm not perfect 100% of the time. Like, I'm probably one of the better communicators there are, but only because, you know, I've got so many tools and I've learned, you know, I like to think there's something, I have innate capabilities with communication, which is why I've, you know, chosen this career path. But I know that I'm not the best, and there's, you know, and I'm not the best all of the time, and that sometimes I'm, you know, less skilled about communicating my needs and things like that. And I think it's just, as long as you know, we accept that and just try to do better. And I'm not saying that, you know, this isn't an excuse for bad communication. It's just, be aware that there's always room for improvement, and there are so many different types of communication and the way people receive information. You just want to be clear and open-minded.
And it doesn't have to be complicated. I mean, if it comes to the point where it's too complicated, then it's something's wrong. Communication shouldn't be complicated. You should say what you mean, and the other person shouldn't have to read between the lines or shouldn't overanalyze your words. Like, we have a tendency, especially as, I'm not going to say women, maybe as girls when we were younger, we had a tendency to overanalyze and read between the lines without realizing that men, or at least at the time when, you know, I was younger, men just said what they meant. What they said is what they meant. And we used to overanalyze every single thing they did or said. And so we have this tendency to overcomplicate things, and it just should be easy. Like with my boyfriend right now, not 100% of the time, because that's what relationships are. It's just easy because we talk about things, and we don't talk about it in such a heavy matter. We let it, like I always say, like we talk about it as if we're talking about the weather, because there's nothing, you know, and that's the way it should be. And it's not to say that we don't give it any significance or that we're diminishing the significance. It's because we care a lot about it that we're not making such a big deal out of it, and we're being open and communicating and relaxed and calm, and everything's okay. And you don't need to, you know, when you're in a relationship, you have a common goal. You're not supposed to headbutt, and you know, a lot of times it just becomes an ego battle, and we want to win the argument. We want to be the ones who are right. There is no right person when you're just having an ego battle, basically.
It's I agree. Is, you know, I think that's a good way to finish the podcast. That there's no right person where there's an ego battle.
Yeah, exactly. And you shouldn't look to be right. You should look to work together and understand each other and move forward and move past this and learn for the next time. You're fighting together, not against each other.
Absolutely. Tell us about
let us know about your breakups.
Go for it. and how, you know, maybe you've never experienced a breakup. Maybe you're with your high school sweetheart, or maybe you've never been in a relationship. Just what are your thoughts?
And is it considered a breakup if you've only been together for a month or 2 months or 3 or whatever it is?
Exactly.
And don't forget to follow us
on Pop Culture Cupid, on Spotify, Instagram, YouTube, and that's it.
Yeah, we have a TikTok, but it's not active. So I mean, you can follow us there if one day we decide
Yeah,
to,
we
lend our minds to the Chinese.
bye everyone.
Bye bye.